Hello, everybody, and a happy Tuesday to all of you, and welcome to your daily lighting critique. We've got a handful of images to go through today. So we are going to we'll do alphabetical order, and we'll start with Forrest here. So Forrest, we've got your reference, we've got your update. Why don't you talk us through a little bit of what has changed recently?
Sure. So I added the eye dings. I added a little bit more geometry to the background and adjusted the lights there and changed the color to green.
Cool. Yeah.
And then I worked on his skin shader a bit to try to get it a little bit more translucent and to get a little bit more yellow on his belly.
It's looking better. There's something about this skin tone that it almost looks like it has emission to it. Like it almost feels like it's glowing a little bit, but I know that's not true. Like the way that this kind of like it's just because there's just like no bones in this little squishy thing that it really like it almost looks like it intensifies as it gets kind of like in here a little bit. It's interesting, and I think we're missing that a little bit. I think we can get that a little bit stronger in the skin tone. The other thing that I think is that I love the color contrast between the character and the background. I do think that we could probably go because we're missing like some of the on the higher end of the spectrum there. I think we could push that just a little bit brighter on the character, especially as he or she is emerging from the from like into, because you know there's darkness back behind and it's kind of stepping forward into the light source. So as it steps forward, I think we can go a little bit brighter in there. I think we're gonna, one thing to watch out for is this bounce of kind of yellow green light under there. I know that's probably naturally true, but it's kind of taking it off the hero color a little bit. So you may just want to a couple things to do with that. You could in the character, like if you had the character rendered separately from the background, you could go in and make the ground plane more neutral and like change the shader just on that, even though it's not actually in the render or something. Or you could just adjust that AOV. I'm guessing that's an indirect light contribution. So just watch out for that. And then for the eyes themselves, I think the eye dings look good. I think the position of everything looks good. I get that we want to that there's like a layer over top of the eye, but even in the reference, we want those darker values to come down just a little bit, because that'll help get the read on the eye a little bit more. Like, let's see. Just take that down, yeah, so we can kind of see. And actually, doing it, what I just did by darkening around there, you can kind of pick up some of these freckles, I guess what you'd call them, a little bit more strongly. Because yeah, even the dark values on these eyes are still pretty dark. That coat on top is pretty transparent. Yeah, I think it's working pretty well.
I can definitely make those changes.
Yeah.
The yellow is in his subsurface.
Oh.
And so I could probably desaturate that.
Yeah, it kind of.
So I was trying to get that yellow belly.
Yeah, it feels. I would just add a little more red to it then, because this feels more greenish, like a greenish yellow, and I think it would fall more. Let's just see. Let's pull out some of the greens and add some more magentas. It would fall more. Just look at the yellow value.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more in there, but you can play around. Okay. That's a really really tricky value to hit. Maybe not that, but somewhere in there.
Oh yeah, I'll just play around.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this? I like the depth of field. I think that value is working really well. Cool stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it in Redshift, like just in Houdini.
In camera, like actually in the render.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks really good. All right, let's take a look. We've got, okay, so Kat, we'll take a look at this one first. You added a little bit of the blue onto that gravestone. I think that looks better, right? Any other changes?
Nope, that was it. I was just tweaking that one thing.
Okay. I feel like that looks pretty good.
And so I think that was the only thing that you had from last time. So.
Yeah, I will stay quiet for a second. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Anything that you think could make it better before we start clapping? Anybody? Okay, I would like to see everyone unmute themselves, please. All right, let's clap it up for Kat. All right. Woo-hoo. All right, good job, Kat. All right, I'll go ahead. Hey. If you're, is this high resolution? Should I add this to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. You can put it in there.
Great. I'll add that later.
You can make it your Halloween themed.
Make it my Halloween desktop. All right, cool.
There you go.
All right, so we've got an update to your robot fight scene. So talk through a little bit about what changed or what you're updating.
Basically, I just didn't like how the lights looked from the original version, so I wanted to make them look more sci-fi-y.
When you
Spaceship-y, I guess.
When you say how the lights look, do you mean the lighting on the characters in the ship, or the actual physical lights in the ship?
The actual models of the light, like the sconces. I didn't like them. To me, they just looked too much like, they just didn't look right. They just looked like they were tacked on there, and it didn't really fit with the vibe of the scene.
Yeah.
So I changed the structure of them. I put less of them because I felt that maybe all the ones I had were too distracting.
Mm-hmm.
And did a couple little different... Oh, the other thing I did was there was a light on her. I had the glare filter, or the glare node on the same level layer she was on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look in the prior version, she kind of had this sort of glare on her. I switched that light to the correct level so you don't have that funky glare, so she's going to look better.
Okay.
And then that's basically all I did was changed the lighting.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing, and I was like looking at reference when we were sharing this last night was, looking at some of the reference of, these are just, I found some like dark room. So that's the only place I can think that's like very dark, but also has very saturated red light, is that they do kind of hit this orange, but like the bulb themselves, they really do go into a whiter range. So I love that you're getting that little bit of yellow, but once we get down into this like core value,
okay, I can tweak it so it looks white.
I think that it would be better if those went more. Yeah, it's really tough to get this.
I just wasn't sure because but I looked up red LED lights and they kind of have the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll push the middle areas to be more yellow, because I was thinking if it was an LED light, I don't know if it would look like that, but I think the red LEDs have the same effect. So
yeah, I think it would. I don't know if LEDs would. I'm speaking out of my. I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but I don't know if I like, because this feels more like a, like a, not necessarily fluorescent, but some sort of like tube light that wouldn't necessarily be an LED, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so just because it what it is if it's pure red, it's just like one flat color. Then we start to get into the gradient, which looks nice. By pushing into the white, it pushes that gradient even further and makes it more believable from that standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's a lot of the images.
But I think, I don't know. I think it looks a little, because I put some of the original photos, the old version in there, and I don't know. I think it has more punch to it or something with the newer light shapes.
Got it. Yeah.
It kind of frames her better.
I like the new light shapes better for sure. I think those are a big improvement. All right, cool.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
All right,
I just wanted to change the lights on her. So
right, great. Let's hop over into Ruby's. Okay, so I love this. I think the background looks a lot better. I think that there is a little bit of attention being pulled up into this corner, so I think we do kind of need to tone back that background a little bit. Just a touch. Kat, you mentioned the reflection in this deck down here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the character herself looks really good. I think that's in a pretty good spot right now. I would kind of leave her as is. The things I would work on would be the background, getting that, and also like somebody may have said this too, that the depth of field feels a little high, like a little strong, so it makes it kind of feel.
Yeah, I mentioned that too. It kind of looks like a toy. It's giving it that almost like a macro look.
It is also doing the thing that it's like an Instagram filter where it's kind of it's a 2D blur, which is like it's sharper near the center, and then as we go out, it's like radial blurring, and that instead of it being in depth space, which makes it feel just like we don't always recognize what's going on. It just doesn't quite feel right. And then the other thing I would work on is like the interior of the house. These windows look good up here, but like the door, like what, like it's because it's kind of just like a solid color, and it's like, is there a light source back there? Is it, it's kind of like you want to push it one way or the other. You either want it to be like a dark door, or you want it to be like these with a light source back there and light kind of creeping through the sides. I also think there's probably a little opportunity to add a little bit more kind of, because I think, again, the character and the light that she is emitting onto the columns and onto the porch itself, I think looks really, really cool. It's just getting some of the other stuff up, but I do think that there's an opportunity to add a little bit more glow in that region, just because I think it's pretty bright in there. Let's see, I'll just screen it for now. Just getting a little bit more kind of energy behind that light that's emitting from her, because like as long as we can kind of see her eyes a little bit, I think that's cool. So like something maybe not quite that bright, but something along here, just kind of push that a little bit more. See that. I'm also wondering maybe if we desaturated the background a little bit behind the house. Let's see. What do you guys think? Are there any notes that I'm missing? Any other thoughts on this? 'Cause I think it's cool. It's just like there's a few things that we could adjust.
I think it looks good, other than like the depth of field thing.
Yeah.
But I like it has a vibe. I don't know if I'd necessarily desaturate the background, because I like kind of that swampy color.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not.
But desaturating the background does make it blend more. So if you wanted to keep it in that same color, I feel like the deck should get hit with that kind of yellowy, warm light, because right now it feels very cool.
Yeah.
And then maybe some like light wrapping, or like on the top right roof, or the right side of the building, like the tree above it has
Look up there?
Yeah, some of that like the rim light coming around the tree, like adding that to the house.
That little light kind of.
And then just
yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, and then the only other thought is just because it's like an incredibly volumetric background, like adding a volumetric light to kind of fake some rays coming in might help kind of tie it together.
Like if they crept over the house a little bit, like up there.
Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah. That's a good idea, because that'll help. That kind of wraps the house in the background a little bit. That'll be kind of cool.
I have a question about the backdrop. Is it an image or is it geo? It looks like an image.
Yeah, it's an image.
I get the sense that the ground plane of the model doesn't align with the ground plane of the image. You could take a polygon, a really large flat polygon, right, and put it under your house, and then you kind of just realign your camera until that flat polygon matches the orientation of the ground. I think that might help. Something's just throwing me off. Maybe it's the lens is different.
No, I think it's the perspective on the ground, because it's like the ground here goes back like that, and then we get to there, and it kind of like, it just kind of like, it starts off flat, and then we get to and then it kind of lifts up. It's like we're going up a hill back there.
I know that, like, I've had this note before in other things, and it sounds like a big pain, but to be honest with you, it's just nudging your camera a bit. Like, it's not.
So it's just taking your camera and lifting it up this way a little bit.
Yeah, this isn't like a project shattering like idea that I have.
Aaron's promising you that he's not ruining your day.
I promise you that I'm not giving you a ton of extra.
He swears he's not. It's not going to be that bad.
All right.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
Sorry,
that's a really good note.
Just throwing me about the ground.
Yeah, I think that's because like this is a pier, right? And like it should just kind of match up. That's interesting though. All right, cool. All right. Well, I think that's all for today, unless I missed anyone. No, I think we're good. All right, cool. Well, that is all. As I mentioned this in the Slack or in the Discord server, I should say. This week is Adobe Max, which is something I had no idea existed before I started working at the company. It's basically a bunch of talks and presentations that are live from different creatives from different industries talking about Adobe products. And they're really cool, and it's free, and it's all online, and things are recorded. So if you register if you just search for Adobe Max and then register, you can see like different 3D artists or work, like how they're using Substance, and then there's also like presentations from Chloe Zhao, who directed Nomadland, and some other really just cool, interesting people, and apparently and Imagine Dragons is performing too, which sure. But it's some good stuff. Like they just announced a whole bunch of really, really, really cool features for like Photoshop and Illustrator and Lightroom and some other stuff too this morning. So like there's going to be a web version of Photoshop. So anyone who works on Linux knows that pain, because Photoshop doesn't run on Linux. So there'll be a web-based app for that. So it'll be cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all for today, everybody. So I will talk to you guys very soon.
Cool.
All right. Be good, everyone.
See you.
All right. Bye.
Take it easy.